Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Publicly Buzzed Live. Making sure that I have my mic on and working properly. I believe it is. What's going on, guys? Thank you for being here. I had to remember what day it was just a moment ago. It is Tuesday. Publicly Buzzed Live on a Tuesday. A little bit early tonight. Going live, I usually go live about 10. Thought I'd go live a little bit early tonight. Yeah, covering a little bit of what's going on in the news right now with BTK. Yeah, anybody that just watched Surviving the Survivor podcast with Kerri F'N Rawson, Coffin Dapper was on there, Mac, wow, what a stream, what a live stream, what a podcast. It was freaking unbelievable. Absolute must watch if you're into this case, watching this case, or even covering this case, because that was unbelievable. I'll be going back through and probably making some notes myself. God dang, I see Holly Barely already coming through here, gifting out 10 memberships. Whoa, we're going to give her some love early here. Hold on now, baby. That's what I like to see. Let me make sure it's working, first of all. Oh, hell yeah. Coming through. Nice and loud. Who got those things? Let's see how many names I fuck up. Sandra, coming through. Salty Sleuth, welcome in. Cammy Q, modding up and getting a membership. Denise, getting one. Juju, getting one. Pookie, what's going on? Thank you for being here. Willow, getting one. Rexbird, getting one. Daniela, getting one. Darlene, getting one. Nikki, getting one. Welcome, guys. Give out the beers, first of all. Because, yeah, we have a lot of new members.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Love it. Anytime we get new members, always pass out a bunch of beers, pass out a bunch of liquor drinks, let people know where they're at. They're Publicly Buzzed, folks. Now, as you come through, please like this stream. It really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't subbed up and you're new here, please do so. And if you are and you haven't yet, please hit the 3 little dots on the side and make sure all notifications are turned on so you don't miss any community posts, videos that I drop, live streams that come out. You want to be up to date on what's going on here at Publicly Buzzed Live, because we're getting really serious. We're getting some great guests. We're putting on great content, and it's because of you. It's because of the producers of this, and that is you guys. Friday, on Feral Friday, we're having amazing guests come through here, none other than Kerri F'N Rawson. Yeah, not doing a lot of media right now, but she's coming. She just did Surviving the Survivor. She just did Nancy Grace. She said, hey, Nancy, later, I got to go and hang out with the Buzzed boys. She's going to be hanging out with both Steve and Dan. Steve and Dan. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. Yeah, can't wait for that. But tonight I'm gonna be. I can't even touch what just happened on Joel's podcast. Unbelievable, unfreaking believable. The expert input. Kerri just breaking it the fuck down. She dropped a lot of stuff that hadn't even been put out there yet. Yeah, some with the actual interaction in the meeting with BTK. So yeah, it's going to be really good when we actually have her on here. Today, what I'm going to be going over is a lot of the stuff that she's been putting out on Twitter, some of the News Nation videos that's going out, all the news stations are eating this up. And yes, we're going to talk about, the cases that are now kind of being reopened, these cold cases. Oh shit, hold on. Before we go into that, let's get this out of the way. I see Jay in here also. How you doing, Jay? I know Jay's on vacation right now. Hope you're having a good one. Dara coming through here. Dara Johnson, 1999. I can't gift memberships tonight because I don't have my computer, but here's some dollar bills, y'all. Shit. Dara always coming through and being an absolutely amazing person. Thank you so much. Oh shit, we got some beers already hanging out on the screen there. Yeah, satisfying pours out the gate. Yeah, what we were talking about here tonight are the cases that are currently being evaluated. Cynthia Kinney, one from 1976 that disappeared from a laundromat. Shauna Garber, 1990, and then another one that's just now being brought up now. There's no name attached to it. From 1983, from Haines, Kansas, there's a victim that is now being potentially placed in with these other BTK potential murders, I guess should say at this time, because they haven't been fully cooperated just yet. We look through here one more time. Yeah, everybody's filling up in here. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate it. If you're not publicly buzzed yet, you will be by the time this stream is over. Well, let's hope so anyways. But yeah, again, you can see the tweet right here. And Kerri has been all over this since the beginning. She has been implemented actually into the case. And she was just now talking to Joel about how they should have done this a lot earlier, though. And they should have been bringing her in early on to go in there and actually try to get some of this stuff out of her father. Now, a lot of stuff has been going on. Like, it's actually too much to even cover. Again, we're going to be doing multiple episodes on this week, and one including Kerri herself. But yeah, again, looking into the Cynthia Kinney one coming up from, and this is actually super interesting. This was actually posted on the Osage County Sheriff's Office. This is a website giving just a little bit of a tidbit that was out of one of the journals. One of the 2004, 2005, one of the journals that was taken back then when he was actually originally arrested. And I'll just read this right here. BJ-17, again, standing in, if anybody's been looking into this, if you aren't new to this, again, there's codes. This guy loves games. PJ standing for project. It says 1976 at BE of House off 17th had problem getting in or too much noise factor. The brunette was the target. I would watch the nearby laundromat for possible victim. C9 hit PG bad wash day. Now that's kind of the name that they're using right here. Bad wash day. Laundromat where a good place to watch victims and dreams. Sometime I have a pair of women underwear on, and after watching a girl or lady, relieve myself in a bathroom with masturbation thoughts. Now, what's interesting about this entire thing is that they're putting together pieces basically like a big giant puzzle to actually put this guy with, like this one right here, calling it Bad Wash Day. And he's got a date attached to it. And then they're going back and seeing exactly when someone like Kinney disappeared, right? And she disappeared from this laundromat in 1976. So I think it's really interesting because he isn't wanting to talk about any of this stuff. He wants you to figure out his games, right? He wants you to actually, and which is insane. But that's what, at the end of the day, he wants to do. He's actually, now, again, if you want to go back, I can't promote it enough. I'll probably be tweeting it out myself. The podcast that just ended, Surviving Survivor, had all the great guests with Kerri on there as well. She went into detail about the actual event of going and seeing her father in the prison. That alone is interesting. She gives you a description of what he's looking like now, and how still, even though he is, in her own words, basically rotting from the core, no teeth, he shrank. What she said, he went from 5'9" to 5'2". Just basically a shell of his former self. Still, the brain is sharp as a tack and is still in real time coming up with alibis when she's pressing him for answers about some of these names. It's insane to think about, actually. I got a couple of notes here. I'm just going to look over here real quick. Kinney was last seen at the laundromat in June of 1976 in Oklahoma. This is about 2 hours from where Dennis Rader lived and owned land in Kansas. Law enforcement continued to look at BTK writings for clues in other cold cases and unsolved crimes in the area. See, that's where a lot of this is actually coming from right now. I'll just read this right here. This is for, I guess, the press release right here. The Osage County Sheriff's Office continues in its efforts to make progress. Make sure it's halfway decent there. In the decades-old Cynthia Kinney missing persons case from 1976. Just think about how old that is for a second. The family still would like to be able to put this to bed, right? Would still like the remains in a case like this. Sheriff Eddie Verdon, got an interview with him that we'll check out also, leading the investigation. He was the guy that I'm sure everyone has seen pulling out the pantyhose that they actually found. They have found some stuff in some of the digs that they've been administrating. As released information from Dennis Rader's journal entry referencing his project, his word for victims, in 1976, the attached image reveals an excerpt from Dennis Rader's journal, which gives details on his whereabouts in 1976. This journal entry alludes to a significant event marked as PJ Project Bad Wash Day, during a period in which Rader acknowledged being outside the Wichita area. PJ is in the abbreviation again of the word project. C-9 makes reference to Chapter 9 in his unpublished book manuscript that intended to give details on all the murders he actually committed. So C9 is in reference for actual killings. The second picture exhibits the original missing poster, and you can see this down here. This is actually on the thumbnail as well. From 1976. Sheriff Eddie Verdon and his dedicated team remain committed to bringing closure to the Kinney missing persons case. And, Kerri is working directly with these guys. And then another case that currently, in 2021, actually putting a name to this one right here on Shauna Garber, before she was known as Grace Doe, was a woman found murdered in Missouri in 1990. She was hogtied with 6 different types of cords. She was identified in 2021 with the assistance of Author Inc. Photographs of her during adulthood are unavailable. And I know people have seen the photos that are going around of what she might have looked like as an adult. Again, giving her identity back when you actually get the name here. Very important in these cases. In 2023, authorities announced that serial killer Dennis Rader is the prime suspect in Shauna's murder due to photographic evidence found in one of his journals, which is believed to tie Rader to the crime scene. And again, kind of going up for what's going on. And again, Kerri was referencing it in the interview that just went off with Joel on Surviving the Survivor. But, he liked to take trophies. He would actually have this laying around the house, and unbeknownst to Kerri and the family. The time period for the Oklahoma victim's last seen, again, Shauna has a notation of a project. Then they found items that match descriptions in the report. 4 different items found that match. So you got a missing person who is missing items they were last seen with, and then you see these items in pics with BTK. Bondage pics, right? Some of these bondage pics. And there's a lot leaked out on the internet. Hardly any compared to the vast amount, apparently, that law enforcement have that were leaked into the public domain. Haines, Kansas victim. Another victim that does not have a name, at least right now in the media. They found evidence showing BTK was watching a location where a victim worked, and he purchased a mask near this location. He had mentioned of this in his journal and also dug a grave not far from this location. Name of this possible victim, again, has not been disclosed to the public. And items found in the Oklahoma dig. Binding devices, pantyhose with knots, jewelry found. We're going to get into some of these interviews too. News Nation is on top of this as well currently right now. Let's look back here in the chat, making sure I'm not missing anything. And thanks everyone for hanging out. Appreciate it. Did I say the wrong name? I didn't say Dara? Dara Sarah? What did I say? Did I say Dara? I think I said Dara. If I fucked it up, I apologize. Yeah, hope so. Hoping it's looking good. Hopefully it looks good. But yeah, this is an absolute, it's quite the story. That's every single day there's something new breaking. And I would say right now, please go follow Kerri Rawson. Actually, I think I have her stuff in here from the other day. She was hanging out in Murder Church. Let's see. I think that's her Twitter. It's going to pop up there. Go give her a follow because she is the authority figure in this right now. She's the one that you want to be following. She's putting out new information all the time. And again, we were absolutely elated and feel absolutely privileged that she would choose Publicly Buzzed Live to come on and continue the story for the public. And I'm going to say this, and I just said it in the chat over there at Surviving the Survivor, but this is the future for getting information out there. It's not television interviews. It's not this stop and go, this cutting each other off. No, it's what we're doing currently here on YouTube and other platforms as well with podcasts. This is the future for getting that information out there. I think it's the best way, quite frankly. But yeah, if anybody has not seen any of these interviews, I got a couple here pulled up. We kind of just, break down, talk about. If anybody has any questions, please pop those in chat as well, and we'll get to them. But first of all, make sure this is working properly. I guess that would be number one. Number uno. So this one, this is about Shauna Garber here, the 1990 case.
Broken glass and a retail bag. Just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I want to bring in, if I can, Lori Howard. Lori Howard has been working on a different case. She is a detective in McDonald County with the Sheriff's Department. She's been working a case pertaining to a young woman named Shauna Garber. Lori, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Lori, thank you so much for joining me tonight. You probably just heard the interview that I did with Sheriff Verdon, Eddie Verdon. Just such a fascinating trove of material that they came across in the April dig and then, of course, the most recent dig. Is there anything that gives you hope from what they did in this most recent?
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. Good point there. Give Kerri a follow, but also when she says she needs a break, let her have it. She needs them. Sometimes she can't respond and needs a break. Jay Buzz Nation knows this, and that's absolutely the truth. Yeah, follow her for key updates, and she's amazing on there as well. But yeah, oftentimes this is a lot. It can be so much for one person. again, you have to think about the position she is in. And she was just spilled her heart out again over on this other podcast. But she is the daughter of this person, and she is actively trying to help these other families, selflessly so. I mean, I don't think that I could do this. You know what I mean? This is a lot for one person to go out here endlessly having the media contact you because you have the news, you have the details. It's so fucking much, man.
Dig, or even in the April dig, that might help you solve the case of Shauna Garber?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that's found is hope. With technology being what it is, anything that is recovered that is new, that can add to the case, because cold cases are just that. They sit for a long period of time, and then, weeks, months, years later, you find something like this in a dig, and it can change everything.
So, Lori, this is hard to say, but it's important because it's part of Shauna Garber's case. She was held for weeks, I believe, and I think I read that she had been hogtied. 6 different bindings were used on her: nylon cord, rope, cable, tree rope, and that she was also tortured. You've spent 3 hours talking to Dennis Rader. Did you find him to be cooperative, or was he difficult like he's been with his daughter and the investigators?
I found him to be very cooperative.
Now, this is interesting right here because Kerri just mentioned this exact interview. What's going on here? This lady is saying that she found BTK to be extremely cooperative. Is he actually being cooperative, though, is the question, because he's probably, honestly, at the end of the game, trying to play a game, right? You're going to have to show him what he wants to see. Basically, you're going to have to figure out his little game and his little puzzles before he's going to break it down for you, or he's going to admit it. That's what's happening. So this lady that thinks she's getting somewheres with BTK, I mean, at the end of the day, he's probably just playing games. And has she spoken to him before, right?
I understand that that's not necessarily the case with everyone, but with me, I ask a question, he answered it. Now, was it truthful? That is the $1 million question with him. But if I offered up something, he gave me an answer. He never held anything back. He actively participated for the whole interview, which, again, like you said, was lengthy, and acted as if he was waiting and willing to give anything that I might ask of him.
Well, even right there, she says he was willing to give anything I might ask of him. Though, did you ask if he did it?
One last question, and that was about the pantyhose that the sheriff.
And this was just on, again, I mean, I just literally finished watching it, so it's really fresh in my brain. But the craziest thing that was dropped, I thought, one of the craziest things, maybe not the craziest thing that was dropped by Kerri, was during her her confrontation, whatever you want to say, with her father when she was trying to extract information, was that when she basically got pretty, down to business, down to brass tacks, and said, is there more than 10? And and this is a very eerie thing to see. I couldn't even imagine, but he raises up, he's in cuffs, and he's raising up, instead of just doing a 10 like this, he's rolling the 10, right? That's creepy as hell. That's him playing games, essentially, to me, and what even Kerri thought in that interview, thinking that, holy shit, I mean, how many more is there? Is that him just saying it's an infinity type loops type situation? You haven't figured out enough yet? You're not there?
Sheriff just showed us with the knots in them. He was known to use pantyhose to restrain his victims. Do you think it's possible that the pantyhose that they've just recovered in the dig might actually have been used to restrain Shauna Garber?
I do not believe that it would have been restrained, that Shauna would have been restrained with those. However, I do believe that it's potentially another victim. I think that there's more out there. I would like to see this case and my case, Sheriff Verdon's case, and any other case solved, and I think this is absolutely the way to do it. So do I think that it belongs to Shauna? Probably not, just because she was bound with 6 different types of bindings, and they're very specific, and I don't believe that there was ever a nylon pantyhose type of binding used on her in any way.
Detective Howard, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight during this breaking news. We'll continue to stay in touch with you regarding the developments in your case as well, and hopefully some of that testing and those items will help you solve that case as well for the Garber family. Thank you for being here.
I thought that was interesting. This one's really good. This is the interview. This is a pretty long one. Well, again, we can watch it, we can pause it, we can talk. But this is an interview with the sheriff here in Oklahoma.
Prizes for him.
And I'm not the biggest
to relive his murder.
Fan. I'm just going to be honest. But the News Nation and her, and they have been on top of this. And this is the best thing I've probably found. I've got some other clips and links up here as well. But this one is it's good ultimately, and it has the interview that I wanted.
After they were long over, he would actually put himself in his victims' lingerie. He would use some of their personal items, and he would actually recreate whether they were hanging upside down or whether they were bound and gagged and blindfolded or whether they were tied up or whether they were half buried. He reenacted all of this. So big warning. Here is your biggest warning. I gave you one before. You've had plenty of time. Please get the kids out of the room. I'm going to show you Dennis Rader's photos of him reenacting his murders. There it is. I can't be any more clear to you about how graphic and upsetting these pictures are. This is one of them, where he half buried himself. This is another one where he had a wig and weird makeup and lingerie of his kills. This is another one, bound after extensive torture and buried. This is one, let's try and get that banner down. Okay, this is one hanging upside down.
Let's get that banner down. I need them to see it more clearly.
This is another one hanging from a tree. Again, these are all Dennis Rader himself.
And I like that Kerri pointed out in this, because everyone, who took these pictures, right? There's somebody else. Somebody else took these pictures. You can see in a lot of these pictures that there is some kind of like cord or something kind of tied to him, and there's you can see right there that's kind of like going right by him there. He's pushing a button that's tied to his to a camera that's snapping these photos.
In these photos, and there's some interesting clues in these photos. So interesting, in fact, that these old photos of Dennis Rader's are now being used to yield clues to solve cold cases that they think might be actually tied to him. So again, I need to reiterate, if you're just tuning in, these are not the victims. These are Dennis Rader reenacting what he did to his victims, using some of their personal effects, their clothing, and some of the items that he may have actually had with him when they were killed. There are 3 cases that these photos might actually pertain to, might actually have evidence to link to Dennis Rader. One is Shauna Garber, 22 years old. She was found near Pineville, Missouri, killed December 1990. Okay. She was likely killed in October, found in December of 1990. Found sexually assaulted and restrained. A half dozen different bindings were on her.
And I'm going to go into this real quick. I mean, I've looked into BTK. I've read about BTK. I knew about a lot of the stuff. A lot of these serial killers, until you truly start deep diving them, at least for me personally, I don't know a lot of the really intricate stuff. You kind of know the story, what's going on, why they're put away, their number count, this or that. When you really start actually deep diving a lot of these different serial killers, a lot of the ones that we've covered on here, every Sunday we do Murder Church, Jeffrey Dahmer. It's completely eye-opening to get the deep details of what's happening, not only in these people's minds, in their actual lives, in their homes. It's wild. That's where you really can start to break down what these people were about, what they were thinking through their, again, their day-to-day lives, whether they held down regular jobs, right? A creepy part about BTK, Dennis Rader, he, worked for the majority of his life from the 60s to the from the mid 70s to the early 90s, as someone that was put in a home security system, right? Like he had access to people's homes. Creepy as fuck. It's just, I don't know. And again, actually, what my point to when I started this little rant was, once I actually started deep diving again today, we're talking to Kerri personally. I got a couple of routes to go. She's going to point me in that basically will help me out as I deep dive further. But yeah, just going in just a little bit today and the little bit of time that I did have. Again, I worked a regular job today while I was putting this show together. But I mean, it's a lot. Like, it's so much, and it's so fucked up at the end of the day. It's so much. What's up, Kaylin? Coming through here.
There's another case, a cold case in Oklahoma that's unsolved. the photos may pertain to that case as well. And then there's a third case that's being investigated regarding those photos, and that is a missing woman from Hays, Kansas, who went missing in 1983. These are cases we had not heard of before now. I want to bring in Osage County, Oklahoma Sheriff Eddie Verdon, who's been working on the dig that we brought to you.
This guy was interesting, and again, anybody, and I'm going to keep promoting it because it was so fucking good. The podcast that just ended, Surviving the Survivor. So yeah, Coffindaffer. Then it was different. Again, you had two different experts on here. You had Mac and you had Coffindaffer, and Coffindaffer was kind of talking about this interview that we're about to watch. Actually, that's not this one. I think it was a week prior when he had the pantyhose actually on his. And I know everyone's seen those pictures. Actually pulling the actual pantyhose with the knot out on his desk, and we're kind of showing to the camera. And Coffindaffer, how she's basically saying how you shouldn't be doing that. Who knows what kind of evidence or DNA you could be messing up right there by pulling this out. And Mac had the opposite opinion of basically saying he knew what he was doing when he pulled that out. He wanted BTK to see that happen and basically say, "Hey, look what I've got. Yeah, like I've got what you put in a place buried. You thought that would never be touched by anyone else. I've got your trophy. I've got your trophy." And that made a lot of sense to me as well.
To you last week that yielded a lot of evidence. Sheriff, I am so fascinated by this new aspect of this investigation. Look, it's new to us. I know it's not new to you, but can you give me a bit of an indication of what is in these photos that is informative to you while looking at these cold cases?
Yes, well, of course, when we started digging through the files, we located those Polaroids that he had taken himself, and there was a series of 9 photos that he took on one of his convicted cases out of Wichita, and in the series of 9, he has written that he is wearing articles from 3 different projects, one of them of which was the Davis murder there in Wichita, and then he named 2 other projects that some of that clothing was from. And as we went further into that, then we developed or found or located 9 more photographs that were dated shortly after another project that he had marked in October, which he called Mossy Lake, which we believe is possibly related to the Garber case.
And
that one where he's half buried is so fucking horrifying. Because he's got the mask on. It looks like there, so it gives almost like it looks like a dead person already because of the features are literally a hard plastic mask, but you can tell the arm is like still just his arm.
I just want to be clear for our viewers who didn't see our programs last week. It's become clear that Dennis Rader uses the word project for his murders, and he uses codes, which we'll get into a little bit later, for confirmed kills and projects in his writings. But when you talk about a project,
he fucking wants this though. Like he wanted to. At the end of the day, he wanted to be called, man. He wanted the recognition, right? Like when they wrote before he actually started doing his last stuff with the cereal box, before he got caught with the floppy disk, he was pissed off because they were like, "Oh man, they think I'm dead. They think he's dead." No, I'm right here, guys. Hey, I'm still out here.
I know that there was something called Project Dogside. I think that was Doris Davis, killed in January of 1991. Did you believe that there were items of clothing depicted in the reenactment pictures of Doris Davis and her murder?
Again, I can't say there were kills, but he noted specifically 3 projects, one of them being what he called Dogside, and then another one he called Project Prairie, and another one I believe was Project Cat. So he noted that he used those articles in those photographs. So then when we found a series of 9 more that were dated within days of what they believe Garber or when Garber was killed, we started looking at the items that he was wearing in that and matched those items back to a special map that he mailed to law enforcement back at the time, where he marked it as 160 and then marked a spot on that map for a location for the victim's body to be placed in the woods. And in those photographs, we had been looking at another unsolved case in Oklahoma, and that victim was missing 4 different items that they were last seen with. One of them was a red blanket, one was a black blouse, and in those photographs, there's a red blanket that appears in one of those pictures and a black blouse. And then in a couple of the evidence photographs taken when they served a warrant 2005, there's a blue suitcase that matches the description of the one that victim was last seen with, and then also a purse that matches a description. And again, those are just descriptions in the original report from 1990, but if you go to the timeline that he had, or the notebook where he had those, he has a note in there for an Oklahoma case. He's got an Oklahoma kidnapping, and then for the time period when the Oklahoma victim was last seen, he's got a notation of a project. And then when you find, 4 items that match the description in that report, you've got to really look deeper into that.
So to be clear, the Hays, Kansas victim.
Has anybody watched also? I had not, like, him in court. Like, he's just, you can't shut this motherfucker up. Like, he's just, like, going. I actually have one of them pulled up here, and it's not like a really long one, because there's one that's, like, long. But, I mean, look at down the line. Did I have it pulled up here? I might not have had it directly pulled up. But him just, like, talking. I'll look over here and see if I've got the link real quick. But him just, like, talking so openly, he's just casual as fuck about it. Just, like, going on about, they'll ask him a question. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Like, it's just, it's crazy. Like, and I know, I mean, going into these, I don't know why I'm surprised anymore, right? Because you're always just like, oh, wow, this is fucking crazy. Like, this person did what? And he's just as casual as hell about it? But, I mean...
Is it true you found information that he was watching a location where she worked, and that he purchased a mask near where she worked?
Yes, and in some of his other notations, he makes mention of a location that she had worked at from the information we received, and then other indications of him digging a grave along the river somewhere in that area. So again, we can only say what we found and what it leads us to believe, and the investigation is going to continue.
Is there some kind of sensitivity behind not releasing the names of the Hays, Kansas victim and the Oklahoma victim?
Absolutely. Those cases are not our jurisdiction and not our cases. So, I'll leave that up to the agencies that are working those cases. We've provided those agencies the information that we feel pertains to their cases, and of course are willing to help any way at any request. But again, that's going to be their decision, on where they go and what they do with the investigation. We're just providing them the information that we put together through our investigation that we feel like could relate to theirs.
Sheriff, let me ask you, we talked last week about the dig at Dennis Rader's former home and what it yielded, the binding devices. You showed us the pantyhose with the knots in them that he would have used as a ligature. You mentioned there was jewelry and hobby items and other things like perhaps chains, other binding devices.
Incredibly narcissistic, Dixie.
Are you...
Still, hey, the news broke with Rex, right? Had to write Fox immediately. I thought, just a copycat, right? He's my age. He has a family. He's just hiding in plain sight.
You further along today than when we spoke last week in finding evidentiary value from those pieces of evidence that linked to Dennis Rader?
Well, we're looking into several different things, but as far as finding the exact owner of those items, of course, I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to that. Dennis is the only one that truly knows where he got those items and what they came from. But what we're trying to do is find cases where similar items were...
You can feel it too, Jay. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're out here doing. Like, you're riding around with some old school dudes out here. Okay, in Osage, Oklahoma, baby. You can just tell.
Possibly reported belonging to the victim or something related to the victim or that case that could have been, and then of course open that maybe some of these items might yield some DNA or something. And again, the length of time they were in the ground. I can't tell you whether it's going to retain anything or not, but we're certainly going to look at it very close. Again, we're also trying to get a list of the items that were collected in the original search warrant back in '05 to see if any DNA testing was done on them, and if not, trying to move forward to get DNA testing on any of the bindings or clothing or anything that was collected at that time that hasn't been off and hadn't checked to see if it matches to any of these other victims that we're looking at.
Sheriff Verdon, I hope that you find resolution on these cold cases for these families and also for your officers. You've been working a long time on it. Stay in touch with us, please. We're going to stay on the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, this was a good interview because it went so in depth with one of the lead dudes. Again, somebody from Kerri's actual fucking team right here. The sheriff. I'd imagine that this is someone that's directly working with Kerri. Yeah, it's just, again, Fox, everybody is on top of this story. One thing I found this. I just want to show you how nonchalant it is if you haven't seen him actually talk about this real quick. Just for a second.
By Dateline, after it was done, was conducted by a Harvard-trained forensic psychologist, Robert Mendoza, who performs more than 100 evaluations for criminal and civil cases each year. He was hired by the defense team to assess Rader's sanity.
I got this fantasy. I started working out this fantasy in my mind, and once that person become a fantasy, I could just loop it over. I'd lay in bed at night thinking about this person, the events, and how it's going to happen, and it became a real, almost like a picture show. I wanted to go ahead and produce it, direct it, and go through with it, no matter what the costs were and the consequences. It was going to happen one way or another.
No one knows for sure why Rader had to kill to fulfill.
Right? Like, I sure was.
Those fantasies. In this interview with the psychologist, Rader dismisses each victim as a project. He says he'd begin by stalking.
Stalking stage is when you start learning more about your victims, potential victims. Went to the library, I looked up their names, that address, cross-referenced, and called them a couple of times. Drove by there whenever I could.
And each time he struck, Rader said he was armed with what he calls his hit kit.
And your
hit kit contained what?
Plastic bags, rope, tape, knife, gun. All those wouldn't be in the kit, they'd be
just so casual, explaining to the psychologist exactly what he would do. The levels, the stages. The stalking would be the first thing to start the fantasizing, like we read earlier from the little snippet from his journal outside of a laundromat. He could do that for hours, right? I read as well that going to bed at night, he could just play these images. I think he says it in this interview that he could just play these images over and over and over in his mind, kind of thinking about what he could or might do from the stalking stage. And again, going as far because he's, absolutely mentally deranged, coming from this point of stalking your project, and he would have to go and masturbate and relieve himself to even probably finish out his day without hurting somebody, right? It's fucking crazy.
Where I could have them in a house and gather them up.
Tools that would come to define the work of BTK. The victims were often discovered bound with tape or rope tied in unusual knots. In his jailhouse interview, Rader blamed his murder spree on that mysterious force he has always claimed was way beyond his control, Factor X.
Something I use it, I actually think I'm maybe possessed with demons. I was dropped on my head when I was a kid. I talked to some theological Christian people, and some of those people are really strong. They actually think, well, the Bible says that there's demons within you or can come into you. That's the only thing I can figure out. I have, something drove me to do this. Normal people just don't do this.
You can't stop it.
I can't stop it. It's just, it controls me.
But so here's where it kind of gets even more scary, I guess, because I'm about to say, but you did stop it, but did he, right? Because he's not going to, at least right now, openly admit to anything that's not going to be proven to him, which is what seems to be what's going on currently. But again, he's in the vein of, Kemper, I think, and Dahmer, in the way that he is so after the fact he has been caught. There is almost like a they're tired, that they're just willing to give it all up, and they're willing to spill the beans, at least on what they've been, and it's not exactly the same with all these people, but because clearly right now it seems through the writings in his journal, with some of the locations that have been laid out, with the dates that he's written out, known projects that he was looking into, people that he was stalking, and then missing person cases of the 3 that we know of right now, and there's potentially 5, and who knows even if there's more. We know that he's not willing to give up all of these details just yet, because again, it's a game to him. Okay, Kerri says it best. He's playing 20D chess over here. Okay, he's been doing this since 2005 when he got caught. He's been waiting probably for this moment since then. When are they going to start putting this together? I don't know, man. It's so much.
It's like it's in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I don't think he was able to stop either. That's the thing with these guys. Going back to Kemper, who we just watched an interview with in the last couple of weeks, after he killed his mother and her friend, he says that his mother was the main reason that he would go into these kind of rages and go out and kill somebody, because he was in such a rage about his mother. After he got caught, he turned himself in after that. So I'll kind of go to this. BTK, didn't outright turn himself in, but did he? Because at the very end, the article comes out, they're kind of asking, is BTK dead? And he says, well, shit, I'm going to let him know I'm not, right? He does some more packages, some more cereal boxes with some material inside that proves that he is who he says he is, because he's got something from past murders, right? And then he asks the silly question. I know he's older. It's 2005. Maybe he didn't fully understand. But, if I send you a floppy disk, can you track it to me? And the police tell him no. And then he was weird. And then he thought it was strange that they would lie to him. Fucking what? That's how they caught this guy. Like, they traced this floppy disk back to him. I believe back maybe to the church. I read that earlier, and I apologize if I got that wrong. But trace this back to this guy, and then they got their man. And then after they lay out the 10 murders that he admits to in front of him, that's when he starts laying it out and admitting to it openly. Again, we have new ones in this case where he doesn't want that to be the case. And whether, I've heard people say, and including Kerri, say things along the lines of he's comfortable where he's at, right? He doesn't want to end up in another state. He doesn't want to end up in another situation. Well, they're going to let that go right now. So at the end of the day, what does this come back to? It comes back to some more of these fucking narcissistic power play games that he's doing. It's disgusting. It's fucked up. Crazy, man. Anything else in here I wanted to write off? I will try to read through here real quick. This was just kind of a brief little breakdown. Let me see. Yeah, BTK, who murdered 10 people over the span of 3 decades before his arrest and confession in 2005. He called himself BTK because he was bound, tortured, and killed his victims. Again, came up with his own name pretty much immediately after the first killings. Rader was raised in Wichita. He later claimed that as a youth he had killed animals and developed violent sexual fantasies that involved bondage. In the 60s, he served in the U.S. Air Force, and in 1970 he turned to Wichita, where he married and had 2 children. He held various jobs, including a brief stint at a factory worker as a maker of camping equipment. In 1979, he graduated from Wichita, Kansas, Wichita State University, where he studied criminal justice. During this time, he began working for ADT, a home security company. How creepy is that? In 1991, he became a compliance officer. Rader was active in his church and served as a Boy Scout leader. We're getting to some of his crimes. On January 15, 1974, Rader committed his first murder, strangling 4 family members, including 2 children in their Wichita home. The mother had worked for Coleman. Semen was found at the scene, though none of the victims had been sexually assaulted. Rader took a watch from the home, and he would acquire souvenirs, often underwear, from subsequent victims. In April of 74, Rader targeted a 21-year-old woman who was another Coleman employee. After breaking into her house, however, he was also encountered her brother, who managed to escape despite being shot. Rader fatally stabbed the woman before fleeing. Later that year, he wrote a letter detailing the January murders and saying that the code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. He left the note in a book at the Wichita Public Library and was eventually recovered by police. He's like, hey, go find this. This is how I'm going to prove to you that I'm telling you who I am. Over the next 2 decades, Rader killed 5 more women. His 6th victim was strangled in March of 77 after he locked her 3 children in a bathroom. Following the death of his next victim in December 77, Rader grew irritated by the lack of media coverage. See, that's the narcissistic coming out of him. He's like, I want some. That's why I think at the end of the day, he wanted to be caught, man. He wants people to know who he is. In a letter to a local TV station, he wrote, how many people do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention? The resulting coverage helped set off a panic. Rader then waited 8 years before murdering a neighbor in her home in 1985. He reportedly took her body to his church where he photographed her in bondage. A 28-year-old mother of 2 was killed in 86. In 91, Rader committed his last murder. Who fucking knows? Strangling a 62-year-old woman in her secluded home. In 2004, on the 30th anniversary of Rader's first murders, a local paper ran a feature in which it speculated that Rader had either died or been imprisoned. Rader responded by sending various evidence from his 9th murder, notably a copy of the victim's driver's license, as well as photographs of her body to a reporter. For the next year, he sent packages to the media, only simply left items around Wichita. He often used cereal boxes, possibly a reference to serial killer, to hold drawings, crime souvenirs, including photographs, written descriptions of murders, and even dolls posed to mimic the various deaths. In January of 2005, police received a break after recovering a cereal box that included a note in which Rader asked police whether they were able to trace a floppy disk he wanted them to send them. Through a classified ad, law enforcement officially indicated that it would be safe, bud. Send it on over. He then sent them a disc, which the police quickly traced to his church, where he served as president of the congregation. Rader's DNA was then matched to the semen found at the first crime scene. He was arrested in February of 2005, and he soon confessed to the crimes. And I would again say, go back and watch him actually in court talking, because he just fucking starts rambling, bro. He's just like, yes, this is it. I'm going to throw it all out here. And I had never seen that before. And expressed shock that the police had lied to him. How dare you? How could you lie to me? How could you lie to me? In June, Rader pled guilty. And 2 months later, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms. So, yeah, this is, again, go follow Kerri, man. She's going to be on here Friday, and we're going to be going into this even further down this rabbit hole. Let's see, Austin Rains. What are you doing out here, Austin? Gifting out a membership. Elizabeth Wright getting that bad boy. Hell yeah. Let me crack one open for you here. Hell yeah, and you're going to get a satisfying pour. Look at those satisfying pours right there. Look at those bad boys. Boom. Like to see it. Thank you, Austin, for that. Really appreciate it. Bad, man. And yeah, I've just got to get those shirts out the door, folks. I've got them. I've got to get them packaged up. I said it was going to be going out this week, so I just got to do that. I might need to do that tonight. I've got a few I've got to get shipped out here. And then, oh shit, Hope Ain't Fear, baby. Boom, gifted another one out here. Hold on. Let's show the love.
Welcome to the party, pal.
And we'll open up some more. 3 more. Crack 3 more and get some satisfying pours out here. And who is going to get that one? Ash J, new member. Welcome. Everybody welcome. And yeah, let's get those beers in chats as well. In chat. Boom. All new members. Welcome. Appreciate that, guys. Thank y'all so much for coming through here, hanging out tonight on a Tuesday. I did trim the old beard up. Does it look okay? Got her trimmed up. I saw Holly in here a minute ago. She gave out 10 memberships. She might have dipped out now, but she was hanging out. Boom. Sam coming through here. My Clad Games. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Pookie. I am not T-Pain. Where are you? Now, see Threads coming through here. Oh, shit, Threads. We got the old crew coming through here tonight. Hell yeah. OGs. Old Publicly Buzzed G's coming through. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Yeah. Friday night. Feral Friday is going to be extremely special. We have Kerri Rawson coming on here to hang out. We're going to talk multiple things. We're not just talking BTK. We're just going to be talking life. Hanging out. She's going to maybe have a few. Who knows? Maybe crack one open. We'll see. I'm going to be being joined by my brother Dan, of course. And Thursday, please come back and hang out with Publicly Buzzed as well. because we're going to be doing another live stream. I'm not exactly sure what it will be on. We'll be on something, maybe covering some more of this stuff, because this news is dropping quick. But I'm not exactly sure. So make sure you're paying attention to the socials. Make sure you're following on Twitter, not only me, but also Dan. Do I have Dan's in here? I think so. Hold on. Make sure you're following Dan on Twitter. Make sure you're following PubliclyBuzzed on Twitter. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube, and make sure you have all notifications turned on, because I'm always posting in the community. And yeah, right there it pops up. PubBuzz_Dan is Dan's Twitter. And yeah, show him some love. Yeah, baby. Get that Feral Friday promoted up. Let people know. Yeah, Holly Berry knows. Yeah, Holly, your shirt's going to be coming really soon. I've just got to get her going. It's been busy, but I do have them. They are in hand, baby. They're in the house. They're going to be coming fairly soon, fairly quickly. Wow. Yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out again tonight. She does. She fucking does, man. I think she deserves a Feral Friday, if you ask me. And I'm glad that she's coming over to this side of things. I know she does a lot of mainstream media stuff, but like I said in Joel's chat, and I've been saying on here, and I've been saying this for a long fucking time, quite frankly, even before I did this channel, independent media is the way, okay? This is the future. Long form conversation on the internet, whether that's a podcast, whether that's a video style like here on YouTube, or there's many other platforms to do it, but this is the future. Snippets, little snippets on Fox, on CNN, on News Nation, that ain't gonna work anymore. Okay, that's not the future. And I guarantee you that it's not the future. This is the future right here. I feel like it might be glitching out just a little bit. Boom. It is, baby. It is. Gotta follow Dan. Gotta follow Dan now. Gotta follow Dan. Gotta follow Dan. That's right. Yeah, Kaylin now. Kaylin's Twitter is booming always. Killer Twitter page. Kaylin, the aggressive progressive. We are the news. You're absolutely right. And I believe that, dude. I think that's the truth. We are the news now. I think that is the future. Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, we're not fake children. We're real deal children here. Let's not get it too confused. Only dance, baby. Yeah, thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to get out of here. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Make sure, please, follow on Twitter, though. Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe is when we're going to go live. And then Feral Friday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, Kerri F'N Rawson will be on here. It's going to be a dope show. And don't forget, man, every Sunday, Murder Church is rocking and rolling, and we're always coming through 9 a.m. Eastern Time. This past Sunday, we started just a little bit early, and I might have threw a few folks off, but yeah, the normal is 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Sundays. Mountain Mama in here also. Love to see it. Did Dan and Steve's third brother, Red, get kicked off Big Brother yet? Yeah, I saw the picture. Is that guy still booming? I hope he wins. Hope he wins, baby. Yeah, anybody that's going to be possibly in the path of this hurricane, be safe. I was talking to Austin earlier, and I know that she's... and I saw her chatting earlier in here. I don't think she's even going to be able to work because of what's going on. But stay fucking safe, though, if you are in the path or the possible path of the hurricane. Threads. Yes. Hope ain't fear. I know you got me. Coming through here. And that's a new member, Hope ain't fear. Love it. Carolina, thank you. You take care as well. I was about to say I was going to check to see if I need to open a portal up for Jay, but I keep forgetting Jay is on vacation this week. He should be back next week. I'm imagining. I'm guessing. Ava, thank you so much. City Kitty, MJ, thanks everybody. All right, guys, everyone have a good rest of the week. I will see you again Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm actually going to do it. Actually going to end this thing. And, yeah, love you guys.
See, we shoot them up bang bang over here. We not scared of they motherfucking ass.